Welcome everybody to episode 178 of Bloody Thumbs Podcast. I am Splinter47, and joining me as always is my co-host extraordinaire, C.H. Gorog. How are you, good sir?
I am doing fantastic. I have a nice big old glass of Maker's Mark right here, and I had a chicken sandwich, and so I'm full and ready to get drunk.
I'm sneaking in some bits and pieces of food, trying to keep it professional. So don't mind me with all the chewing going on in the background as I just came straight from the wonderful responsibilities that is work.
Hey, anytime you can get in. You know, these days we are so bombarded with work and things to do that just sneaking in a nap or food, it's not a crime. In fact, I encourage it. Please do, good sir, and just snack on some chips or say hello to your lovely, lovely girlfriend, or just look something up. I have no qualms about it, because guess what? This is the world we live in, and sometimes you just gotta sneak up to. It's not like you're not paying. It's not like you are not paying attention. It's just that, like, hey, I gotta look over here for something, and then I'll come right back.
Multitasking, that's the thing. That's the part of life. But yeah,
Yes,
folks,
indeed.
we're glad to be back yet again on another wonderful edition. Speaking of the Maker's Mark, I don't have any alcohol in me right now. I haven't had it for about 2 or 3 days. I'm kind of feeling it.
Ooh.
It's not that bad. I'm actually having some Canada Dry ginger ale. I didn't realize how great ginger ale was until I had it recently.
Oh,
And
dude.
it's like it's so good. Especially when I eat a lot, it helps me. It helps me decompress.
It's not only, a good tasting drink, it's also incredibly carbonated, and so for some reason that, like, settles the food even better.
Yeah, it's helped me a lot, especially when Kat and I went to a steakhouse one day where they keep serving you steak. All you have to do is just, like, lift up your little sign, your little coaster thing, bring more meat as you pass by. And we devoured so much meat that day.
They asked you to leave.
It wasn't even funny. Like, my pants felt like they were about to burst, and then I couldn't even breathe. It was really bad. It was a good time though, but it was really bad having to drive home. I think I was, like, intoxicated of fullness. Like, I could have been pulled over. I'm under the influence of meat, officer.
It's like, hey, there are laws against alcohol. There are not laws against steak. So, really, you lose in this situation. Goodbye.
So, it's a matter of me slowing down a bit, taking my time. I've been trying to slow down on the eating my food real quick, because it does take a toll on me, and then because I'm like a vacuum, I suck that dry, no pun intended. And it's just one of those things. I have to slow it down a little bit. That way I can enjoy the food, and then I don't have to end up getting more than one serving if I end up eating something real fast. But it's a work in progress. In regards to the drinks, last one I had was, like, I bought that little cool looking octopus bottle, the Kraken.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty good, the Kraken. And then I dig me some Jägermeister. I like that herbal taste. I'm one of the few people in this world that loves the taste of cough medicine, and that one fulfills my quota of cough medicine tasting alcohol.
You're the guy. You're going to be standing in the line with all the homeless alcoholics who just decided to get, like, listen, we're just trying to get drunk. We got a serious consideration about you, good friend.
Yeah, I also have a little urban or kind of little ghetto side to me, because I just found out about lean. I wanted to try to get lean. There's this whole little thing going on in the rap community where they I think they mix alcohol and, like, cough syrup and
Cough syrup.
well, Kat knows, she's in the know.
Cough syrup, Sprite, Jolly Ranchers.
Oh, good God! That
best
sounds
of all
like
worlds.
that you are the MacGyver of making some interesting drinks right there.
Yeah, and I saw a video about about it too. About there are older people trying something. But I don't know if it was altered enough for the video for entertainment purposes, but they got really high off their ass, so to say.
Anything people like to do very strange not strange things. Well, yeah, strange things occasionally. In terms of getting into an altered state of mind, and mixing drinks and physical substances. That's definitely one thing. I would also recommend you check out. It didn't work for me. I tried to listen to it, and it didn't work. There's this type of music that's supposedly when you get like large headphones to block out all the other sounds, and you just listen to the music. It's apparently supposed to give you a very nice, methodically comforting feeling, and that's not like lighting up a Dewey, but more like, oh, this is very, very peaceful. I feel relaxed, and some people feel high. I didn't feel anything.
Yeah, it depends on the person. I used to have an app on my iPod before it kicked the bucket. It was like these binaural tones that it was called, something like that. And you get different tones with different sounds and rhythms to it, and they all do different things. Either they'll help you break bad habits, or they'll kill your headache altogether. That's kind of helped me a few times. When I ever had a headache, I would put on some headphones and listen to it for like 10 or 20 minutes and listen to those like weird little tones that you would hear like in a sci-fi movie.
The background of like a cheap sci-fi movie in the 80s, of just like, it obviously filmed in like inside of a studio, but just like, ooh, it's so weird. Hear these sounds. It's just like, you just like left a microwave on for too long and just making the sound.
Yeah, and then you had the option to like play different background sounds in the background of that main tone. It's like beach sound or rain, things like that. It helped me a few times. I tried one to help you lose weight, but it didn't help. It didn't help shit. So
yeah, for what I've come to realize, especially about health, every single person is different. Everyone, and I don't mean this like in terms of like correct dieting. I mean like in terms of almost everything. Like certain exercises will help people lose a lot of weight, and some will not. Others can eat as much food as they want and be as thin as possible, and some will just like have a piece of broccoli that just like barely touched a stick of butter and will maintain that for the next 15 years. And just for everybody, it's always different. As Lewis Black once said, we know nothing about health, and one of the guys I interviewed was like a 116-year-old man who ate nothing but fatback and White Lightning alcohol, moonshine. Sorry, White Lightning moonshine. And he's like, "Why do you have fatback?" And he said, "And why do you eat fatback?" And he just says, "Well, because bacon's too lean." And it's just like this, like, wow. It's like whatever works for you, whatever makes, because I have a very distinct feeling that like 100 years from now, people are just going to look back at what we thought was healthy and just be like, "Wow, that was not the case." Kind of like how people look back 100 years from right now from then, where it was like, cocaine's fine, don't worry about it.
Smoking a cigarette every day is fine. It's prescribed by your doctor.
Especially like 5 out of 6 doctors all recommend Marlboro brand. That's like the best brand to buy for all pregnant mothers.
Yeah, that's very true. Like it's a certain type of unique situation for everybody. It's not like clear cut and dry. Do this and do this. It's gonna help you gain what you want or lose what you want. It's always like a checks and balances. Whatever works for you, that's kind of the way you have to go through that path. And me not doing anything, it's that's the main reason. It's not going any further besides up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, man, it's like just one of those things. If you guys got a routine that works for you, better late to keep going with it. Don't change what's broken.
Mm-hmm. It is especially if it proves to be very healthy for you. For me, I actually, when I went to college in my freshman year, I actually did the opposite. I lost the freshman 15. And that was because I realized I only, when I was home, by the way, I'm prefacing this, I love my family and I love my mother, but, when I was at home, I would eat, just whenever, food was served, and, being Catholic, white Catholic family, we would be guilted into doing everything we did because that's how we run. That's our oil. And, And so when I went to college, it was just like, okay, I only ate when I was hungry. And a lot of times I was just like, okay, I'm going to go to class, and then I'm going to do this thing and this thing. And I would really only make an effort if I was actually physically hungry. And then I would also there was a great gym nearby, which was just like a treadmill. And that's fine. Just like that's all it worked for me. And I lost so much weight. And and that's something that I really started to struggle with when I came back home, just because like, wow, it's that very delicate balance of saying like, oh no, trust me, I'm full. Don't worry, you don't need to put more stuff on my plate. And listen, I love you, but you need to stop right now.
Yeah, that's how my dad is all the time. Want some more of this? Have some more.
Oh no. As I assume, are you the youngest son of the family?
Well, I'm the only son, so but that makes me the oldest son.
Okay, well then then we're in the same sinking boat, because I, as the youngest and only son in my family, we are tasked with the privilege of being the garbage disposal for everyone else. It's just like whenever you finish your plate and like everyone else still like nibbling on there, it's like, oh come on, you should have some of this. Like, oh well, I don't really want to. Oh well, that's too bad. There's starving people out there, and this is just going to go to waste. Like, listen to me, you son of a bitch! You decided to pack up that plate. So, there's certain responsibilities the youngest sons have to deal with.
Thank you. Yeah, it was one of those things you gotta take it for what it is. Maybe go like that episode of Seinfeld, put the food in the little cloth you have here, and shove it in your pocket.
Yeah. With Jerry Seinfeld, the one where Jerry is dating the woman who won't stop cooking him meat, and like that's her measurement of like a manly man.
Yeah, something like that. It was either that or the food wasn't as good as.
Oh no, because Elaine put on his jacket and like was chased by rabid dogs.
Yeah, it was like it was like veal or something.
I am, Seinfeld. I gotta say, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I will give it the credit it deserves. It was one instrumental comedy in terms of really bringing up some interesting ideas at the forefront.
Yeah, I love Seinfeld. I got my Kramer shirt. I'm hoping to get a big portrait of Kramer one day, but that's a story for another day, ye sirs.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing that story.
But the story we can tell is the movie we were discussing last week that we had the opportunity, not the pleasure, I won't say pleasure, the opportunity to check out.
We'll see. Who knows? Maybe we will enjoy it.
We'll see. But we watched Barely Lethal.
Barely Lethal, yeah. It's starring Samuel Jackson, Jessica Alba, James Fogler. No, Dan Fogler. Sorry.
From Balls of Fury fame.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. He is. I'm not even going to talk about that yet, but it was a direct-to-DVD movie, and it had a fairly interesting cast because it was Haley Steinfeld, who you might remember from True Grit and and Ender's Game, and she's working her way up, and she's I would say quite a good talent, and this is a kind of a teen high school comedy in the flavor of they're trying to do different things, which I actually do appreciate. Where this one is a high school comedy, but it takes place. It's kind of like if a mashup of, I would say, Wanted or Kingsman meets Mean Girls.
Yeah, something like that.
Where it starts off with Samuel Jackson. Of course, he's essentially Nick Fury in this movie, where he raises young children, and I got the impression that they were war orphans, and a lot of times they would just like scoop up these kids from different places in the world that were ravaged by war, and train them from a childhood to become assassins and stop feeling emotional. And I guess they're mercenaries. I can't really remember if they work for the United States or if they're, if they're a mercenary company or a private security firm or whatever. And one of their agents, Agent 83, who is Haley Steinfeld,
right?
Just one day decides to, she's very interested in this other world of what the other kids are doing at her age. So she does research and basically all through movies and TV shows. And she decides to, one day, when a operation goes a bit haywire, she decides to kind of fake her own death in order to get an exchange student opportunity to go to a high school and to live with another family and to see how the other half lives. And so what happens is this film is her trying to integrate into that world and her perceptions of what high school is, and through the movies and that she saw, and not really experiencing for herself, and trying to understand all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I say you surmised that movie pretty well. You made it sound a little better than what it actually was. But that is primarily the premise of the movie. I'm keeping this tradition because I have my notes written down.
Oh yeah.
But
there's a couple things I want to talk to you about. I also live texted you things that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, a little bit too. So I got a little bit of a feel what your thoughts were on the movie too. Mm-hmm. I didn't fully write notes for the whole movie because I felt like it was distracting me a little bit, and also the movie lost focus with me a couple times, so I kind of forgot that I was supposed to be writing notes. Because it's kind of all over the place. I get the premise you brought up is very, very simplistic premise, but they make it seem way convoluted than it needs to be in the actual movie.
It's weird because there are these beats that just go by way too quickly, and one of them that I really noticed was Agent 83, who is she calls herself Megan, and when she goes, like, the first science class she has, she walks down, puts down her books, and she talks to, I think, are you sure it was Cash or was it Roger, played by Thomas? Because it was. Oh no! It was the first day. That's the one where Dan Fogler is a teacher. By the way, I'm going to get into Dan Fogler. This is going to be a separate discussion. There was because there was something like really twisted and weird about his character.
There's some underlying tones going on there. That I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what they were going with, and there was never really a callback to it or any kind of resolution to that. He just we'll get to that a little.
There was never a restraining order placed, so it's still like up in the air. Like, what the hell is he doing?
Yeah, we'll get to that later. It had to do with another student that Agent 83 had a crush on. That was very much like the typical musician looking guy in high school.
This guy was me, except he is much more handsome than I was back in high school, and also a lot more better with like actually talking to women. Mine would be just like stammering and then like saying something really inappropriate, and then like immediately cutting up that conversation. Like, okay, you're not going to see me again. That's fine. So she sits down with Thomas Mann's character, who's Roger. And they're talking, and it's about for like 2 minutes, and it's like, oh, okay, this is a nice kind of relationship they got. They're joking around a little bit, and then the school bell rings, and then it's like, okay, go to your next class. Like, they just sat down. Like, listen, like, I don't know what the first day of school was like for everyone else, but for me it was like, okay, here's the first school. We go over the first day of classes. We go over the itinerary. We go over, test taking. Like, this is just like, sit down, look at the person next to you, talk for 2 minutes, and then it's like, okay, now you're gone.
Yeah, it went by really fast.
It was story beats like that, where it's like, no, you needed to expand upon this more. To actually get a reaction, because this is, it wasn't just like, oh, okay, they talk at first, and then the class begins, and then they edit it to where everyone leaves class, and like, oh, okay, you can infer that they just had class and it just ended. It's like weird editing that it's like it's in the present. It's not like they skip around in time. Like, everything is happening in real time. This is an episode of 24, and just very, very odd stuff like that. And I'm sorry. Did you want to say anything on the subject?
Not on that. Not on that. It's we'll get to the meat of the matter here. But
yeah.
Honestly, I really wish I could say more, but there's not much I can really comment on that besides just me staring at the screen and watching the colors move. It was pretty tough for me, man. Especially watching it. Like, I had other things going on. And then I ended up watching it like at midnight, and then going to sleep at 2, just for the sake that I watched it and have something to discuss a little bit further. I did it for the show. I did it for everybody. You
did. You took a bullet here, and the beginning is very odd because it is Megan. The character of Megan is trying to work herself into... Okay, first off, there's a lot of red flags in terms of, like, the beginning. It's like, okay, why did this foster family accept her when they don't even realize her real parents are dead? It's just like there was no conversation. Like, oh, somebody wants to live at our house. Okay, we'll let them live here. And, like, without a discussion. Like, basically, they the only discussion that they had was when she got dropped off from the airport.
Yeah, she goes under the alias of... or the pretense of being a foreign exchange student from Canada.
Yeah, of Virginia, Canada. And trust me, they pound that joke into the ground. And it's exactly what you think it is. And you know what was interesting is that this film was actually originally rated R. And the strange thing is, nothing changed. They asked for a reclassification, and then when they sent it back, I guess the freaking ratings board was in a better mood, and they said, it's PG-13.
I could see that too. It was a little bit odd to me. I didn't keep track of what the rating was. I thought it would be PG-13, but there was a couple of scenes in there that could have been thrown in there as classified as a little bit of a light R, but still, especially
they have sex, they have drugs.
There's a penis drawn on someone's face.
You know what's really weird? Okay, like, one of the highlights of this film was Megan's talking to Sophie Turner's character in the bathroom, and then they both leave the bathroom. Like, they're discussing, like, and Sophie Turner plays another agent who's assigned to after. I'm not going to say what kind of events happen, but she's eventually discovered, and Sophie Turner is sent to keep an eye out for her. And so they have a very intense discussion in the bathroom of kind of of Megan's personal life and what's been going on, and kind of what her responsibilities are to the organization, the Prescotts, which is the agency that she works for. And then they leave the bathroom, and then it, like, pans down to a guy who's just just sitting on the toilet the entire time. He goes, "What the fuck was that?"
That had me cracking up. It was so out of left field. I did not expect that, and that was like literally the highlight of the movie. Them talking in the bathroom, and then the guy just sitting there, covering his parts, just sitting there and all. I was like, "What are these girls doing in here?"
It was, like, I don't remember it, but I don't know if they were in there and they saw him and they just didn't care, or if he was like hiding behind the door that they opened up to talk. It was just like, what the hell was that? And this movie also, in order to even get into it, you need to swallow a lot from a lot of high school cliches. Like there's I'm looking up on IMDb. Finesse Mitchell, who plays the Don Cheadle character in Mean Girls, except he's more spineless, and he's just like, "Oh, guys, stop making comments like this is supposed to be a pep rally. Come on!" And I was like, "Wow, is the nebbish black high school principal a stereotype now?" Because they make him a stereotype in this one, just because he's in that scene and then nothing else.
Yeah. It's just the same as Sam Jackson and Jessica Alba. Get top billing on the poster. They're only here for like probably, I would say, a total of 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean they have like a giant with Jessica Alba, and she plays a target for the Prescotts to take down, because she's apparently a threat to the organization, and you learn a little bit more why later. But she is in maybe like 3 scenes, if that, and she is barely in the thing, although the movie is kind of about her, but not really. And I would give Sam Jackson this. He is in a good number of... He's on a lot more scenes. But that's because it's Sam Jackson. He doesn't half-ass anything. He's like, listen, I'm in it for the long run, and I am... If you need me to wear this fake-ass mustache that looks like a dead raccoon and glue it onto my face, then that's what I'll do.
Oh, yeah. That scene when he was the...
He was the bus driver.
The bus driver supervising her.
Listen... Even like a dumbass freshman kid the first day of high school would just look at him and be like, listen, you're not a bus driver. It's like, what? Like, listen, I know we public school systems hire the lowest of the low, but come on, dude, that's even for you.
But yeah, some of the quick notes I'll run through real quick. So it's pretty much as you mentioned, they're orphans being trained to be killing machines, but no real purpose on what subsidiary organization they fall under.
Yeah.
The transitioning font for the title card looks like something out of Microsoft Paint.
Oh god, yeah, and then and the opening title sequence.
Oh yeah, all, like the cast is rendered in like this 2D animation.
It's this digital comic book motion capture anime. Like imagine if the terminal, like motion graphics or whatever, I can't remember what it was called, but you know, in Halo 4, the terminals where like it's a motion comic and people are moving. This is even less motiony. It's basically just like one step up from like just like someone having a camera in front of a comic book and just like zooming in on like particular images or something. And it is. I was surprised at the money that seems to have gone into this, because like there's like big names attached to this. There, like Brett Ratner was a part of the production company.
Yeah, produced. I wrote down.
Yeah, and it had like a lot of people behind it, and for some reason this just wasn't really big theatrically, because there have been much. Also, did you know that RKO Pictures is a thing now?
I saw. I was like, "What is this?" RKO
like, what the
Pictures.
Fuck? Did the ghost of Orson Welles come back? Like, I do declare that RKO shall become a good company again.
It's insane. But as you mentioned, included in my notes, vagina jokes, Canada jokes, take Bieber back chance, galore.
They do a lot. Okay, this is one of the biggest problems a lot of teenage associated films have, which is they make a bunch of pop culture references that no one is going to get in like 5 to 10 years. Where, you know, they keep making, like, Kesha is apparently like a fragrance now, or that's even a plot point where they make jokes about Channing Tatum and Chris Angel. It's like, no one's going to know who this is. Like, I know who Chris Angel is, and when watching it, I forgot who Chris Angel was. And they just keep doing these things where it's not funny in the context of the actual conversation. It's funny if you know them. And that's once again, I think, endemic of a lot of the American comedies these days.
Yeah, it's one of those things where especially a lot of the cheap comedies that try to go for the easy jokes, and are not even really jokes, just references to things, that they always fall flat. It's never going to be one of those. You're always going to end up forgetting. You never know what the hell the context was, because I remember seeing one comedy that referenced something, and I had no idea what. It just flew over my head, and that's the thing. It's the thing that you have to avoid in order for the film to stay relevant after like 10, at least a year. Let's not say 10.
Yeah,
20
that's
years,
generous.
at least a year.
It's so a lot of the introductory stuff is pretty problematic, especially when Heather actually decides to try to actually Megan. Don't want to get her name wrong. Who, you know, she watched all these movies, yet she still acts like a double agent who's never actually interacted with human beings before. You know, it's like, I thought this profile would work, or, you know, it's like, I thought like this interaction would make me like, oh, I know what you are. You are this stereotype in a high school movie doing this thing for that. It's like, this doesn't really gel well with like what they're trying to go with.
Right. I mentioned Mean Girls when one of the cheerleaders asked her to kind of sit with them. That was brought up, and I was surprised, very much surprised on a side note here. I was surprised to see Sophie Turner in this movie. I think she's probably expanding her palette, though, her being a young actress and being starting off very hot on the Game of Thrones, being in such a big show like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And she's the high school equivalent of a seductress femme fatale, especially towards the latter stage of.
That's true. Especially during that latter stage. I felt like she gave off the vibe. At the same time, watching over Aging 83 after them discovering that she has not been DOA on a mission that she ended up faking her death on. She very much supervising her, and I always got the sense she was more of the Newman to her Seinfeld. And every time I look at her, she always seems like she needs a lot of sleep. She always looks sleepy.
She does. She looks like she needs like 2 Tylenol PM and just like a glass of warm milk. Just like, please, girl, go to sleep. We care for you. I don't want you to drive behind the wheel.
Yeah, in the events of this as well, she's trying to get in goods with the popular musician guy, Cash, that has the band called Emoticon.
Yeah, and like listening to so when Megan goes to the high school. And like she has one of the worst introductions I could ever imagine a new. Also, why the hell do they have a pep rally for like a new exchange student? But like when it was, I don't know how public schools work in whatever fantasy land this is actually a part of. But when we had an exchange student go to our public school, it would just be like, "Oh, you're an exchange student? Yeah, here you go. Here's homework."
I know they never made a big deal like this before, especially for one person.
Yeah, they have like it's just one person, and apparently nobody does any actual background checking on this girl because it's just like, oh, by the way, here she is. Oh, she's from Canada. Okay, I guess. And I also don't get like how this is a public school if the guy who constantly makes comments isn't like immediate. Okay, so like in the middle of Megan's speech, like, "Oh, I'm from Virginia, Canada," and then this guy. By the way, played by Gabriel Basso. His name's Gooch. Ha ha ha. He just makes he is not. It would be one thing if it was like the entire crowd making comments. He's the only one even speaking up, and so if that was like him back in my school, it would just be like, okay, get your ass up. You're going to detention for the next 5 months. Like it would not be like just gently tolerated. Like oh Gooch, why don't you try to stop doing that? She's new. It'd just be like, get your ass out. We're calling your parents. You're suspended for about 2 weeks.
Yeah, things like that always took me out of high school movies. So they never seemed to care about a lot of the realism and actual things that would happen if you would be acting up like this. You get a smack in the face.
None. People say like, oh, high school, like schools these days are too lenient on kids behaving badly. It's like, no, like even to our extent of like not beating children, like there would be some serious repercussions for what this guy like spouts out, like the shit that comes out of his mouth. And also, I gotta say, there's a very weird subtext, not even subtext, but this very weird motif of sexual molestation in this movie, where it's like Megan like just got dropped off to school, and Gooch just like comes up and slaps her ass like, ha, fresh meat, and everyone just like, ha, oh Gooch, you rascal. And everyone I would just been like, did anyone else just see this guy totally sexually molest this woman without her wanting this? Like, this would not be appropriate for, a drunken bar where, like, a bunch of patrons, like, try to feel up a girl's ass. And then it just keeps going. Because Dan Fogler, like, he slaps Cash's ass. And I, like, going through this film, like, what is up with everybody, like, inappropriately feeling each other?
And as we get to that topic with Dan Fogler.
Oh, fucking Dan Fogler. Okay, at first I was like, it's kind of shown, like, okay, he is very sympathetic, I guess, towards Cash, and he's like, oh, Cash, like, you're cool. Like, maybe he wants to ingratiate himself with Cash, because he says he's a musician as well, and he plays the trombone. It's like, oh, hey, maybe we can jam together. But it turns to a point where, like, he's forcing himself onto this like 16-year-old kid, and he's just like, and it's not just like, oh, you're reading too much into it. No, it's like, no, it's front and fucking center. He's just like, hey, yeah, everyone gets a partner in science class. My special partner, Cash. We're gonna be spending a lot of time together, just you and me alone. And it gets even weirder, because the longer the film goes, the more you realize this guy's a fucking pedophile.
Oh yeah. It creeps in the beginning. It's like, okay, this is a little weird, and then it's slow and increasingly it builds up to this moment.
It goes from like innocently naive, like, oh, he doesn't realize he's not one of the kids anymore, like maybe he's trying to regain some of his youth, but it just keeps going to like, oh my god, he wants to have sex with this child.
It's insane. It's one of the little side plots that never gets addressed. No one questions anything. Much like this movie and how it got made. No one questioned it. It just happened.
Oh my god! And and I'm sorry, I really derailed from the conversation, but the kid who plays Cash, who is Toby Sebastian. He's he's the pretty boy. He plays in a band, and he's all cool. All the ladies love him. And then he's like, and Dan Fogler comes out and says, like, I think it was the principal. He comes out on stage like, they were the 29th most downloaded song on iTunes, and the emoticons, and then they bring him out, and it is fucking terrible. It is just like, okay, I don't even think like that the Disney Channel would shit out this lack of quality of a song. Like, I don't even know how you got downloaded the 29th most downloaded. I think if iTunes shut down and you were the only people that had access to it to upload a song, then maybe you would be the 29th most downloaded song. But even then, that's pushing it.
It seems sketchy to me. Very sketchy. They ended up at the charts right there. It's it's a lot of things that don't make sense. A lot of them are not trying to make it seem like this is how high school is. Nothing like it. Much like a lot of other movies are, way exaggerated for sure. A lot of the nonsense that goes on, and I don't even know how old these kids were. I feel like they're in middle school. They don't. Some of them look old enough to be in middle school, not high school. Everyone's drinking, having sex, and everything, and then Roger's dad, played by Rob Huebel, was all trying to get. It was so cringe-worthy, trying to tell his son not to have unprotected sex, or don't do crack. Crack is whack.
Crack. Don't do hash. Hash is more focused than weed.
Yeah. That's what he mentioned.
He is one of the kind of bright spots in this film, because he is. It's obvious that he's trying to ride that line between like a caring dad and a dad who just really says too much. But as the film goes on, it's like still a little too much, and it gets kind of goofy towards the end where, he talks about his first sexual experience, and it just like you went a little too far.
Yeah, he went too far, and just jumping in between timelines of the movie, this may have happened before or after, but after being discovered that Agent 83 was indeed alive and abandoned her mission intentionally.
Oh, I think I know.
We get a little. She gets taken back to the base where it all started. With she was trained, and Sam Jackson's there, and who we see?
Pedro
interrogating her. We're about to interrogate her with jumper cables. Pedro, played by AKA Steve-O. I think it was probably the best performance in this movie.
It was certainly one of the best performances of his life, and I have to say, I never saw that coming. Where it was just like I would have expected Cary Grant to rise from the grave and look as he did when he was like 32 and be the interrogator and still not be as surprised as Steve-O, because it's just like it's like Samuel Jackson like calling him from a corner, like, "Oh, Pedro, come over here." It's like, oh, okay, maybe he's got tattoo. You see his body first because he's shirtless, and it's like, oh, it's tattoos. Like maybe they're going for a weird, offensive Latino stereotype of like a thug, and then you see it's Steve-O, and it's like, what? What the fuck is this? And when Megan, talks to Samuel Jackson, like, I just want to be, a normal high school girl. You never gave me a chance. And like Pedro's like nodding, like, yeah, this is a very difficult time for her. It's like, wait a minute, what are you trying to do here? It is so bizarre that it somehow worked for me anyway. That scene worked because it just like, okay, this is so weird that it crossed over into the good territory.
Yeah, well, a little bit. It's certainly a little bit of the brighter spot of the movie. The inconsistencies worked out for it a little bit.
And okay, so that I like that scene. What I absolutely was absolutely stupid was the fact that like they had an unlicensed like white van, and that was like they're supposed to be like a secret government agency, or maybe like a private military, whatever. And like their method of like secretly transporting this girl back to her home is just like tossing her out of a car when she's like half drugged and not even doing it quietly.
Oh yeah, that was out of left field too. That was just I can't surmise and explain all the feelings I've had, or no feelings at all, watching the movie, and just how batshit crazy it was with some of this logic. And even by the end of the movie too, the brother of the adopted family was all talking about how kind of had some. He had some feelings about Megan being a secret agent too, and he wanted to be a secret agent. And Sam Jackson
was be a ninja.
Sam Jackson was referring to him to apply on the website, so it's not too secret.
No, it's literally like, it's not even like .gov and you got to use this username and password, or .edu and you go through screening. It's just like, oh, you want to be a secret agent who kills people? Okay, go to this .com website.
Insane. What? I don't even know what to say. Like, what was the purpose of Jessica Alba's character besides her being a small plot point near the end of the movie? Was she supposed to be
Jessica Alba?
Yeah, Jessica Alba. Was she supposed to be a prisoner that is not working with them now? I don't understand where that went.
Yeah, they skipped over. I assume it's because they only had like 2 days to actually film with her, and I guess the insinuation was that, like, okay, she escaped. I don't know. She escaped with someone's help. I'm not saying who, although if you've watched one of these movies, maybe you will be able to see it, especially in terms of. I'm not gonna say it anyway, because people do get pissed off when they get spoilers. But
people are clamoring to watch this movie.
They're lining up by the truckloads, and I think it's just this idea of, like, she's this ultimate antagonist against Samuel Jackson, and they have a personal relationship. You kind of get an idea of what it was and why she has a bee in her bonnet in terms of the Prescotts, and I also gotta say the fight scenes, not the best, although I do like the fact that and by the way, I did check, she is actually no, it's the fight scenes are, they're kind of they're filmed a little. Okay, once again, this is another thing endemic to American culture. It's like a lot of the fight scenes are filmed way too close,
and a lot of quick cuts.
Yeah, for those of you who are listening out there who actually do fight scene choreography, please, for the love of God, keep the fight scenes, the cuts more than 2 seconds, and also medium shot at most. It should be establishing or 2-shot, never an over-the-shoulder stuff, or very rarely over the shoulder, because some of it's in here, and that's kind of the problem I had with the film. But here's what's going to bake your noodle. I actually like this film.
What?
I like the first half I didn't really like. I thought it was it was like weirdly trying to cram itself into 2 different genres. I felt like there was some narrative weird inconsistencies.
That's
I felt
true.
Like they didn't explain enough in terms of the organization or how she's kind of involved. But as soon as they kind of get over that, the midway of the second act, it started to really gel for me. Like, I really like the acting between some of these people. I like a lot of these dialogue scenes. I thought were going to go very, very stock and very cliche, high school kind of ways to go, but they managed to turn it all around. They managed to turn around a fair good deal around more than really they should, and a lot of times, it's a sign of a really bad screenwriter when they have women act in a certain stupid way because they're overly emotional but don't give that emotionality really good context. This actually does, because there are parts where Megan and Heather are competing for a guy, but it's not actually for his attention. It's for essentially his security and the argument of keeping him safe, and that's what's at stake. And I like the twists of the genre, because unlike a lot of I don't know if you feel the same way, but I actually really do enjoy a good romance film as well as musicals, and just when it's not done well, it's so obvious when it's not done well. And for this, they actually put a lot of effort into it. And Rachel Harris plays Mrs. Larson, who is the mother of Megan's foster family who is suffering through a divorce, but she actually drops a good bit of real world insight. Just like, listen, like this is not high school is not the best time of your life. No, for a lot of people it is. For some people it is the best time of their lives, and that's it. For some people they just suffer through it and they grow up to be better. Going through high school does not make you a better person. It doesn't really make you wiser. It's just like something you have to go through. And you learn more about yourself regardless of the outcome. And even the actors like Gabriel Basso and Thomas Mann, I thought they were really good in this film. I certainly don't think Toby Sebastian was that good. It's like, listen, dude, I think you're trying, but you gotta hone that craft a little bit more. But even Haley Steinfeld, I thought she was great. Sophie Turner, I thought she was surprisingly good as kind of the femme fatale trying to gum up the works. Samuel L. Jackson, I don't even know if I can give a review to Samuel L. Jackson anymore, just because like whether or not he's bad or good in his role all depends on kind of what human being you are. Just like, I don't like him. Okay, I can agree with that. I liked him. Okay, I can agree with that.
That's true. Like he's always usually in the middle category. For some people you'll get 50-50 on each, but honestly I feel like you mentioned, it's he always puts forth a good effort regardless of the movie he's in, even though he's not always given a lot to work with. But
if he's crap, he will. It's because the film is crap, and he's going with it. And like he won't try to be like the best performance of the production. He'll try to match that production in the best way he can.
Yeah, that's true. I don't feel the same as you do. And granted, this is also a part of me not being 100% there, because it was also kind of late at night when I was watching the movie. I could see, thinking back at it a little bit, the film got a little better. Like after the first half, it certainly was a little bit. It was rough to watch the first half of the movie.
Yeah,
it certainly had those.
That required way more explanation.
Yeah, it certainly had a little bit more thought behind it. Just like the scene you mentioned with the mother, it was certainly one of the truer things that was actually represented well about experience through high school. Everyone's experiences through high school. It's not something that it will either make you that will make you or break you, but you do learn a lot about yourself.
Rachel,
that one was a pretty good moment of the film. Actually, there was actually some writing and thought into it. Mm-hmm. I can't say the rest about the film because it was a little bit disconjointed at parts, and I saw no need. I saw no purpose with Jessica Alba being in the movie besides her being in the movie, and she wasn't that great in it either. And it's just I couldn't take her seriously because she didn't look menacing at all.
No, I completely agree. I think she is okay. So if you've ever seen the Steven Soderbergh film Haywire, Gina Carano looks like one of those women who could kick some ass in, who can be tough and yet be also, the interestingly like sensual meets charming meets like she'll turn on a dime and kill you type of woman. Jessica Alba, not so much.
It seems like she's just playing that character, and it just doesn't mesh well, and that certainly hurt the film whenever she was on screen. It wasn't.
Maybe that's why she's so infrequently used.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't see the reason why she was even casted in the movie besides the name value, or but
she's not a name anymore.
Not anymore. But
those Fantastic Four films were a long time ago.
That's true, and yeah, like you mentioned, it could be just the whole endless spiral, like you mentioned last week about such and such. This person's in this movie. I'll join. I'll hop in, and the next person hops in. It ends up just culminating to like people coming into a movie because there's someone that they want to work with, and not necessarily for the script itself, but.
I think it's 6 Degrees of Samuel L. Jackson. Everyone seems to love working with Samuel L. Jackson. So it's just like whenever he's in, like, we'll work with him. He's good, and also it has a pretty big cast because they got Sophie Turner, they have Rachel Harris. She's not a huge name, but she's still respected. They have Rob Hubel, as we talked about before, where he tries to play the kind of quirky odd dad, and his personal kind of story arc with his son kind of fizzles out, and it's just like, oh, okay, well, that's the end. I guess there never was any real problem besides him saying, "Hey, Dad, just give me a break." That's it.
Yeah, I would summarize the movie as I would give you credit for what you mentioned, because I do remember those scenes a little bit, and they were very much the bright spot of what was a very meh movie. There's a lot more meh than good in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It had an interesting premise. I like the idea of, just in general, because it's very much like the Kingsman, very much to the similar, like the background of Agent 47, which, hey, that'll twinkle my fancy. But it's just there was so much.
They had Agent 47 as playing just a young high school girl going through emotional trauma. Would you have liked the film better? Yes or no?
It would be my movie of the century.
That'll be the next DLC Square Enix has for the next Hitman game.
It'll be episodic DLC.
That would be great, just of him like trying to blend in, like trying to pretend to be like a young girl with like pigtails and like a pink dress, like, don't look at me, like I'm on a mission.
Yeah, it's just like I mentioned, there's so much going on, little subplots that never lead to anywhere. Very disconjointed, and the dialogue is not very good in most of them. Besides just those little small scenes here and there, I can't really recommend the movie too much. It was I'm very glad we got to see it, at least, because at least we're keeping up with the tradition of our watching some direct-to-DVD movies, and it always fancies my curiosity to wonder how this movie came to be, and how it ended up to being direct-to-DVD, and if it was ever even planned to be released on a grander scale in the theaters. But beyond that, I can't say too much positive things other than some of those small moments like you mentioned, and the highlight of the movie with the kid taking a dump.
That'd be laughing so hard I had to pause the actual movie.
And that's pretty much, that was a pretty much the highlight for me. I keep thinking about the creepy undertones of Dan Fogler.
Oh, jeez, dude! Like, I don't know, like, what editor decided to leave that in, but just like, you didn't need to do this. You're just subjecting all of us to more of this really unnecessarily uncomfortable scene, and it's even more uncomfortable by the fact that there's if it was revealed that he was a pedophile and was like arrested, like, yeah, I was trying to have sex with him, at least that would be like an ending, like, oh no, that makes sense. It's more uncomfortable because like it keeps going on and they never address it.
Never addressed it, and it's if they were to do that subplot there of him getting caught, it would have changed the tone of the film, and it really wouldn't be anything in line with what the kind of film is going for, because it was trying to go with two different genres of the high school and also being like a covert ops, born to kill or raised past, or kind of movie going on at the same time. So it'll be way out of left field, and it wouldn't make sense. And at least they had the sense not to do that. So I'll give it credit for that.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I had to double check myself, because is that him? Is that from Balls of Fury fame, Dan Fogler, in this movie?
There's a particular sensibilities of acting that can only be associated with Dan Fogler, and I gotta say he's not. It's weird because I don't even understand like what the implication was. Like, if they made it more overt, like, oh, he's trying to be with the cool kids again because he never was as a child, or anything else, that would have made sense. Like, oh, okay, so he's kind of this pathetic teacher who Cash kind of feels sorry for and hangs out with just because, like, listen, he doesn't have a whole lot going on, but he's kind of a good guy. And you know what's interesting is that I would kind of compare this to Grosse Point Blank with John Cusack in terms of kind of the setting of the main character kind of disguising his or her past identity with from the schoolmates, and it's for me, I was genuinely surprised. I like this film. I was waiting to tear it apart, especially since that first half is kind of a struggle to get through, and it's not really evenly paced in the beginning. But there's a point in the middle where it really starts to click, and it really starts to feel like a better high school movie. It's not perfect, but I felt like the second half had a lot more benefits than not. And if you want to get on my good side, have a movie end high, even if the beginning was not. And so I'd give it a tentative recommendation if you're into high school movies, if you like kind of genre mashups, and if you're willing to sit through some very questionable moments. And because it's a movie that surprised me, especially in terms of how much heart it had in a lot of places. I think Haley Steinfeld, Sophie Turner, and Dove Cameron, who we didn't mention, who was Liz, who is the exchange family's daughter, and she just recently lost her dad to divorce, and so she's dealing with that. And it's hard to be the straight man or straight woman in in a crazy comedy. I think she does very, very well. And I was really surprised at the cast. I was really surprised at how much I actually got out of it, and of course Samuel Jackson. I love Samuel Jackson, so I got to give that a big old thumbs up. So overall, yeah, I would give it a tentative recommendation.
Well, this has certainly been an interesting experiment at the at the task of
our first disagreement.
I'll agree to disagree, but it was an interesting. It was an interesting experimentation to still continue with us watching these direct-to-DVD movies, and either our expectations matching what our initial thoughts that it would have been before we ended up watching it, and also being surprised at the outcome of what we thought of the movie. So this was definitely genuinely surprised.
Yes,
they feel a little bit stronger about it than I did.
I was also very surprised in terms of how much they did not pull punches in terms of showing just like, yeah, high school kids are kind of dicks. And a lot of times, if they're not belittling you to get a better place at the table in terms of social acceptance, they're belittling you just because. And
right.
As you can imagine, I was not exactly the popular child back then. But I felt like the cast did a very good job, and as you said, this was a delightful surprise, and this is certainly has been better than some of the more directly aimed at young women audience. Certainly that I've seen over the past couple of months, actually.
Well, touche, touche. I must say, this is a very interesting. Surprise and revelation that you had on this film.
That, and I just got a crush on Sophie Turner. So,
well, if you ever get to ever speak with her in person or anything in general, don't take it seriously if she may not seem like she's too interested or paying attention, because that's how she looks. She looks a little sleepy.
I'll meet her with a pillow. Just like, here you go, darling. Please, like, there's a broom closet. Just like, have a nice little nap, and we'll see you in about 15 minutes.
I was I don't know why I was surprised, but I was pretty surprised on how well she pulled off the American accent. I guess it's just easier to pull off than maybe an American actor trying to do an English accent. It seems to translate a little bit differently when it comes to them changing their accents for a role that's primarily catered to an American audience. So, very surprised that she did it very well. It didn't come off too too harsh. So,
I will. No, sorry.
We'll have to see how she is. Not. I don't know. It's one of those movies I have to see and to see if I like it. We'll have to see how she does as Jean Grey in the X-Men movie. But I think she's a pretty decent choice for right now, especially for her age.
For young Jean Grey, yeah.
For a young Jean Grey, yeah. I see it. So we'll have to see how the actual movie fares and talk about it on whenever it comes to pass when we see that movie. I hadn't thought about quite yet what we could watch, because I was thinking about mixing it up a bit since we watched two movies in a row that are direct to DVD, and primarily not ones that were highly rated. I was thinking about either continuing on with another not so highly rated movie, or just throwing our surprise meter on random to see if it's something that we'll end up liking. I'm considering some other movies right now. I haven't fully gone on board yet to what we could decide on end up watching it. I was thinking about the Mel Gibson movie that came out a few years ago that didn't come out.
Oh, The Beaver?
Not The Beaver, but it came out on VOD. So it came out in some countries, but they didn't have a wide release. Get the Gringo.
Ah,
Mel Gibson.
I think that's what all the Jewish Mexicans were shouting when they saw Mel Gibson.
Yeah, so I was thinking about possibly watching that one. There's that, or the recently released. Yeah, you may not have heard of the show, but I was a big fan of it at the time. A Spike TV original show, cult classic, Blue Mountain State. Recently came out with the movie, because off of a Kickstarter, because it was such a revered cult classic movie that it ended up getting a Kickstarter, and it came out yesterday to download online. So that's just that's maybe me watching it on my own time, because I don't know, because you'd have to have a reference to the show as well. And there's also, and I can also acknowledge it may not seem anything up your alley, because it's a guilty pleasure for me.
You know what? I would be interested with both, but I think I'd like to watch the Blue Mountain TV show movie, because I would like to see what the reactions are from somebody who has not seen it. Me, not seen the TV show, which was me, and versus you, who is a fan, and just try to see how where sparks fly in terms of where or not we disagree.
That's true, and it's also I acknowledge this. Let's get this straight, ladies and gentlemen, before we even get to this discussion next week on this movie. I know it's not the best. It's very it's a very guilty pleasure for me. I'm just throwing that out there. This is not the kind of show.
Gotta cover early.
It's not the kind of show I seek out to watch, but I ended up watching it, and I had somewhat enjoyment of watching it because I watched the show on Spike TV, and then this happened. Ended up having this made for online movie from Kickstarter. So I was just throwing that caution in the air right now. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. The show made me laugh a couple times. That's all I'll say. And we'll do that. We'll watch the Blue Mountain State, The Rise of Thadland online movie.
Okay, that sounds too good to be true.
I have it right here queued up on this movie website I have. I'm surprised it's even on here. But when you get the chance, you can watch it on there, CH. I don't know if this is the site you use, but this is a good site for me. So I've been watching my movies.
This completely legal site that we're using, which is a video service on a very legal site that we're using.
Yes. So I ended up watching all my legal Oscar-nominated movies.
Hey, when you're watching Barely Lethal, you only want the HD quality that Amazon can deliver.
Amazon, I have Amazon Prime for the sake of watching Barely Lethal.
And I am very, very interested in watching this, and I would absolutely love to square off in terms of where our allegiances lie.
Well, we'll have to see. It's going to be one of those things where I'm going to say I enjoyed it for the guilty pleasure sake of it, and this also has a small place in my heart because I enjoyed the show, and it's going to be another situation where analyze it as a film, not going in as a fan of the TV show, which is two different very perspectives. Not either one is right or wrong. We'll come to a compromise. I'm very objective when it comes to reviewing things. I won't let my feelings get in the way of such a classic movie as what we may experience right here.
Speaking of like technical movie film appreciation, which is, by the way, nothing. This is just something I noticed, and not really something that I was really analyzing as like, oh, this is the Rushmore or the Citizen Kane of our time of Barely Lethal. Is that a lot of their shots are just like either a medium shot of one actor talking with another medium shot of another actor. There's not even an establishing shot. Because I don't think they had enough money to actually have an establishing shot, like a close up. No, it's just going to be one shot and another shot, and that's it. That's all we can afford.
I know, right? Well, that's always going to be the kind of the trend when it comes to these direct-to-DVD movies. Mm-hmm. I think after we watch this Blue Mountain State movie. When you have the free time, I'll try to make some time as well to look into some maybe better reviewed direct-to-DVD movies to see how they compare. I know there was a couple of movies I've seen.
I kind of don't want that.
I know, that's kind of like breaking the trend of what we're trying to do. This is just for my sanity, but if we're going to keep tradition and watch these lower-rated movies, I'll do it.
No, we can break it on off, because we also need to appreciate the finer and more uplifting points in life.
I was also thinking of. I've already seen the movie, so it may not count or may not work well. But it's not like we have any rules for this. But I also remember seeing a direct-to-DVD movie that I pretty enjoyed. I enjoyed a lot. It was pretty interesting. It's very much in the sense it's the closest you're gonna get to like a legit Hitman movie, but it's not a Hitman movie. It's I think it was called The Diary.
The Man Who Kills People for Money
of a Hitman. Something like that. I gotta look this up. But that's a different movie. That's not the one I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Shit. But I know it was on Netflix. I'll have to look into it.
There's also a good deal of Netflix movies that we can look at and just 5 out of 5 stars. Let's go with 1.
I'll tell you this: don't make me watch Ridiculous 6 again, because I can't. I couldn't even finish it.
How can you not love that? That is the Blazing Saddles of the next generation.
Oh my goodness, it was rough, man. I clocked out when they introduced.
You will look for your brain will actively search for anything else in the room to take your mind away from the movie because it is just so painful.
So I ended up finding the movie. It's Interview with a Hitman.
Interview with a Hitman. Gotcha.
Put it on.
Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah, we'll put it on the list here. I actually was very surprised. I was very surprised this movie, starring Luke Goss.
Oh, okay. So now we know it's bumping
from Death Race 3 Inferno fame. I think there's 2 Death Races. He was in Death Race 2 and 3.
Okay. you know it's maybe a little bit of a subpar production when Jason Statham has dropped out.
But let's see. Yeah, Death Race 3. Yeah, there's some of these direct-to-DVD ones, even sequels to like movies that were somewhat successful that get sequels and DVD release forms. They interest me too. I didn't even know there was a Death Race 3.
I didn't even know there was a Death Race 2.
That's true. But yeah, we'll keep it on the side as an option. If not, we'll probably go back to watching another one of these lower tiered, lower rated direct-to-DVD movies to keep up tradition. I'm always willing to bite the bullet on another one. I would love to do primarily. I think it would be a lot more fun to try to do a like a commentary track of a movie that we'll end up watching. It'll be really cool to do that.
Okay, I vote for Transcendence because that movie is so bad. I want to laugh with you with it. I kind of want to just like when we meet up, I want to like get drunk and like watch a couple of movies and have like a running commentary going through it.
I'm more than down for that. That will be the best way to do it. That way we'll be in sync with everything that we're watching and in awe and in just utter baffle of what we were watching on screen, and to have that translated into audio form would be the best form of entertainment that we could ever imagine pumping out.
There's a couple of films that can really bring in the flavor.
So whenever that day comes, when we do end up hanging out together, that's going to be what we got to do. We got to, have a couple drinks in us and watch some of these direct-to-DVD movies and record some audio commentary on the side. Perfection. So right now, folks, keep this locked. If you're able to find a legit way to watch Blue Mountain State, The Rise of Thadland, feel free to watch with us, and we'll go ahead and talk about this movie next week on the next Bloody Thumbs.
Yes, indeed.
I may kill two birds in one stone, and end up editing this podcast and watching this movie. So we'll see.
I think that would be a good use of time.
Well, I'll have to see how everything goes if it all goes down my way here. So beyond that point, I know that you wanted to bring up a little bit of some of the controversy that has occurred. There's not really much gaming news going on. I could talk about a little bit of what I played. I played a lot, but I could tell you a little bit of my experience of playing the Deadpool game in regards to the almost close release of the Deadpool movie. I figured I give the game a shot. I'll get into a little bit on that after we discuss a little bit of the controversy you were mentioning with me about the Fine Brothers and their little experiments going on. And if you don't know who the Fine Brothers are, they pretty much have a YouTube channel dedicated to just mainly just having a bunch of other people react to things. It's primarily how I know them from, because I've seen a couple of the videos on them doing like reactions of the Oculus Rift with like teenagers and also older like senior citizens, trying out the Oculus Rift and like having them slowly built up to like something a little bit more scary, a little bit more immersive of what the Oculus Rift is, primarily about, and then having them, on a roller coaster, and then slowly transition into like a horror game. It's just things like that. Scaring our senior citizens one video at a time.
Yeah, they must have worked for the EA when Dead Space 2 was coming out, because they had the your mom hates Dead Space 2 marketing trailers. And they have like young kids reacting to old technology or old people reacting to new things, and so they tried to copyright the reaction videos. And this was mostly spawned on because for some reason they got into a big tussle with Ellen DeGeneres, and they sicked their fan base on her, which is all kind of in very, very poor fucking taste. And so I don't really have a lot. I have no sympathy for these guys, because they didn't realize the negative reaction that if they didn't even comprehend the negative reaction that would have come from this when reaction videos are so big on YouTube, then they just didn't have a fucking IQ. They didn't have two brain cells to rub together. And today they, after so much public outcry from these people, rightly so, because they're fucking idiots, they finally released a video saying like, we're sorry, we won't do it. But the video felt pretty disingenuous, and it was also like, yeah, we're only not doing it because people called us out on it, not because we genuinely want to do it. And it's something that's really disgusting about these trademark battles that people have, where people could when Candy Crush Saga developers King tried to trademark the word candy. And I can't remember if it was candy or saga, but it was one of those things like, are you fucking serious? People use this word all the fucking time. You did not make this. And it's like people will try to do this to protect their intellectual property rights, but the problem is that you're not breaking the mold here. Candy Crush is nowhere near fucking original. Or the reaction videos. Like, reaction videos have existed long before you motherfuckers try to take credit for it. And what's even worse is that these sons of bitches have other people upload their videos to their website. They take 40% of the goddamn profits. And it was like, are you kidding me? Like, you have no legal high ground. You have no moral high ground. You guys are a bunch of fucking idiots, and the worst thing that you get is too good for you, because I have absolutely no sympathy. And this is something that we need to desperately rewrite copyright laws in the United States, and this is just one of the very big prime examples. And if you watch these videos, these guys are like, as someone pointed out, like aliens trying to convince people that they're human beings. And just like how they dress and how they act is like it's like just a few years out of date to look like actual human beings. To like, oh yeah, I could take these people as human beings if this was like 2007. But they talk to people as if like the internet is a new thing. Like, oh, we're just testing the waters out here. It's like, no, you knew what you were doing. I am so glad they reversed their decision. I don't wish them to get pelted with criticism or comments or death threats or any of that stupid shit, but they deserve criticism, and rightly so. For
I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying, I am so. Where did we leave off at?
The criticism, and then you cut off a little bit.
Okay, they deserve every bit of criticism that they get, because it is well deserved. But I don't think people should send them death threats or hound them relentlessly, because that's just stupid. But it's something that I feel like should be a very big case mark in terms of trademarks really updating themselves, and especially since a lot of their videos are user uploaded videos. They don't create the content, so what they're doing is trying to trademark something they have neither created nor intellectually defended. This is something that they have not like it's me trying to trademark the word "the." Like, I did not create it. I am not the one who was only going to employ it. But, hey, I'm a greedy fucking asshole, so I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, it's really ridiculous. And even hearing from you on exactly what they were doing, it's insane. I'm glad that at least that they were called out on it. And it's obviously a case that they're trying to kind of like, sneak some shady things in here. And obviously not doing as much work as they probably are doing with their videos, and trying to get other people to do their work and get most of the profits. It doesn't make sense. It's only because they have some relevancy in the YouTube space that they could feel like they could justify that, but it's not. It's also comes into question that a lot of these things that always get brought up, even with Bethesda a couple of years ago, trying to trademark the work, Elder Scrolls or something like that.
Yeah,
it's
Scrolls.
Yeah, it comes to the time where the copyright laws are so vague and so outdated. They need to be updated for our generation, because it's very very rapid pacing, growing world we live in, with so much. And technology and information always evolving along with it, and a lot of people get burnt through copyright claims that are not necessarily valid. And then occasionally there are ones that are valid, but primarily a lot of people end up suffering even through reaction videos on the whole copyright issue, even though it falls under fair use with the reactions, but it's just one of those things where it's either you end up getting away with I wouldn't say getting away like you committed a crime, but you end up faulting.
But sometimes, yeah.
You end up faulting under the radar of YouTube not getting striked for a video you made that was all on the up and up, and it getting flagged for whatever reason, and through their automated systems, just taking it off and not being able to make any kind of revenue on it, especially for those who, try to make a living on those videos as well. It breaks the creativity and a lot of the content that could be put out there for people's entertainment, which is what it's all about.
Yeah.
And it just ruins creativity, the whole copyright law.
Yeah.
So I hope things get better. We can only hope for that there's some kind of at least address of the issue at hand, and there's some rewrites in the law itself. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I'm hopeful, because it's going to be very big now. Especially it's already surfacing on the right now of how big this is, and I feel like it's only going to get worse from here.
Yeah, it's well at least now people, I think, will have to address it.
Addressing it is the first stage, so at least people are doing it and didn't let this slide at all in the wayside with what they're trying to do, because it was utterly ridiculous, and I don't know anyone who would have any kind of sense of frame of mind to even participate in this. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I absolutely I bet if they could, businesses would try to outlaw public reactions to negative public reactions to their business changes, because they have to realize, like, okay, they're not going to stand for this, and so I just think it's just so much better than just like a lot of, thank God for the internet, because we can all voice our opinion now for that. And I just wish people would stop doing this stupid shit that they are going to get caught on. And I just am so very, very glad that they decided to say, hey, you know what? We think what you're doing is bullshit, and we are happy to talk about it.
Yeah, that's as much as we can want everybody to do in a very criticizing and not a cost to actually publicly threaten people's lives. That's not what it's all about. Nothing's gonna get done that way. So there's always room for criticism. There's never not room for criticism, the way I see it.
Yeah, there's never room for like threatening to kill somebody because they don't agree with what you say or what they do.
Right. We'll have to see if things change like this. Just like we mentioned, we'll always be on top of situations like this, because it's very very important to everybody, especially we're
always watching, Wazowski.
Especially those who are online content creators, just as we are. We were very much in the forefront of creativity and having to avoid any of this legal bullshit.
Oh yeah.
So we'll have to see. We'll keep a positive mind on this one.
Keep abreast of the situation.
Yeah. Check out CH's article on Soma.
And by the way, I wrote a article on Soma and my experience that have not been spoiled on it and want to learn about it. Just avert your attention, just because it does go into spoiler territory.
Yeah, I'll have to end up reading this on a later time whenever I decide to beat the game, because I haven't had a chance to get back into it again, because I've focusing my attention on other games, getting back into the Witcher again, and then playing the Deadpool game that came out a few years ago. It's on the PS4 quote unquote remaster, which there's no remastering in this game, so I'll say that this is I'll be honest, from what I played of it, it is not worth $50 that Activision's putting out for this game. It is very much, and this is just me saying that because I bought the money, but because I paid it. But this is a cash grab for. It's a cash grab game because of the movie coming out. Not to say it's not a good game, but it's well placed and came out right at the right time before the movie came out for them to make a little extra cash on the game. And they didn't really bother to make any kind of visual improvements. It's very much the same if you played it on the 360 or PS3. So bear that in mind if you're planning on buying the game. But I will say. What I played so far, I think I'm near the end. I can't say for sure, but I played a lot of it over the weekend. Very much a Deadpool game. Like just from the beginning, they do everything is in terms of how they got the character down, the dialogue, and the presentation. Just a lot of breaking the fourth wall, much like Deadpool does. It's very well done. They really went all out to make you feel like you're a part of this, world of Deadpool, of him trying to make his own game, but you're playing his game, so it's like a little Inception going on in there, and also breaking the fourth wall with him calling Nolan North, that's gonna voice him in the game. So a lot of that going on. Nolan North is does an amazing job as Deadpool in this game. I very much buy and feel the performances and matches the character from the comics very, very well. Mm-hmm. You also get these little cool moments and vignettes, like whenever you introduce to characters of the X-Men that you may not be aware, you get achievements for little things like just tapping the X button to get a little quick bio by Deadpool, just kind of like surmising the character and what they're all about. And you get these little comedy songs in the background, especially when I met Cable. Is like you hit the button to learn more about him, and then it just starts playing. It starts showing like our pictures of him from the comics, and just get this like these sassy black ladies singing like, "Who the fuck is that? Who the fuck is that?" And it's like it's Cable, and and then you get introduced to him like that, and a lot of the highlights of the game are just how well represented the character is. I can't say the gameplay is not necessarily what you're going to be going in here for. It's very much your standard above average or average third-person shooter. And you're doing a lot of the same tasks. A lot of the environments are very, very copy and paste, very drab. You're always underground or in the inside buildings are very desolate, and fighting the same kind of military troops or some kind of like out of this world demon or alien type characters in the game. So there are other characters are very much enemies you fight are very much the same, and the combat's very repetitive. It has a little bit of like some of what all the other games try to do, like try to emulate the Arkham games combat a little bit. They don't do it as well, but it has a little bit of that spliced in there when it comes to like kind of reversals. It's almost like they're not really necessarily reversal buttons. They're more like evade buttons that Deadpool can teleport away from, and then you can kind of chain together some combos, which on the surface I never really bothered to look at because a lot of the varieties of the combos seem always the same to me. I always end up feel like you get the same result. The shooting is very very standard as well. It's just you're doing a lot of the same things, a lot of platforming, a lot of shooting, and just the waves of enemies. Especially by the end, where I ended up, it's not necessarily too difficult or too easy. It does kind of get a little easier depending on how you decide to spend your upgrade points. Even playing it on a hard difficulty not necessarily makes it any more challenging by any sense of the imagination. But I would say if you get the game on a discount, you'd probably really enjoy it for just how well they represented the character in some other media besides comics. I will give them that they really did a good job in really presenting the character and bringing a lot of the elements of the character, a lot of the fourth wall breaking, a lot of references to some of the story arcs going on. You get to meet Death. That's like Deadpool's girlfriend because he's always like on the verge of on the verge of dying, and you know they have their own little relationship going on. So you get to know a lot of the main core characters from the Deadpool comics a little bit more, and they have some funny moments in it. I do enjoy some of those. They're really really entertaining to watch. Primarily, it's not the most exciting to play, but if you can get it on the cheap, you'll enjoy it for what it is, and it just gets you a little bit more in the mood.
Bargain.
Yeah, you get a little good. It's a good bargain bin game. Not worth $50. I tell you that, Activision. $30 is like you're pushing it, but I'll bite. But I wanted to check it out for myself, and I've enjoyed, you know, everything else besides the gameplay. But that's like it's an interesting dilemma. It's like there's certain circumstances where I can allow and tolerate a game like that, where it has a very repetitive gameplay, and also feels a little bit more like a kind of like a notch above like a PlayStation 2 game in terms of like a little bit of the graphics. In some parts, a lot of the environments seem a little bit outdated there, but it's decent enough to be at best like a PS3 or 360 launch title in a way. But I will say, you'll get the most out of it if you're just enjoying it for everything else besides the gameplay.
For a good laugh.
Yeah, maybe you get a good laugh. Mm-hmm. It's a good rental or a good bargain bin game. I can't even say rental these days because where do you rent games nowadays besides Redbox? But even if they have them.
Yeah, it's not too often you're going to have a Redbox where everyone's pining for Deadpool, so they're not going to have that option. But probably on the cheap at Amazon, or one of the things I did like was just a very small scene that I saw on YouTube was Deadpool, and like he has two other voices in his head, and they make their own little thought bubbles, and one of them was like where they're in an argument with each other and they're trying to figure out how to cross like a bridge, like a giant chasm. And they're just like saying like, well, what do we do here? Like, wait a minute, do that, do what? Like, keep talking. Like, we're gonna make a bridge of just our thoughts.
Yeah, there's a lot of that happening in the game. Yeah, it's just very, very, very fun in that aspect of some of the cutscenes and just a lot of what they do to very much represent the character. A lot of those are the ones that are more like the shining moments of the game, which is there's a lot of it. There's a lot of dialogue and a lot of scenes where you can interact with other characters. Just that there's a scene where Deadpool flies the X-wing and then he crashes it, and all the X-Men members are like knocked out from the crash, and then Deadpool tries to wake Wolverine up, and then you get the option to tap the X button to slap Wolverine, and you can do this for a long time. Like they did put so much detail into that. Like the dialogue never repeats when you do things like this. Whenever you have to like do an action that requires you to do that for a long time, and also quit out of the option, as you would get the option to stop doing what you're doing, but you can keep on doing that action until like it pretty much just stops, because he has so much dialogue. And even like in scenes that last for a long time, if you choose to have it last that long of a time, a scene where he goes to the urinal in the middle with the two other enemy types that you're always fighting the game, and he's just having like a long conversation about his pee. It's like a long stream of pee. It always goes to the same angle, so the same animation for like 5 minutes. It's just different dialogues every time.
Well, they probably don't. They can probably just reuse the same animations, but just like have the voice actors like keep talking no matter what. Especially since they don't have to sync up different dialogue with his mouth, since it's underneath a mask.
Yeah, that's part of it too, and I was just kind of very impressed with that, just how much detail they put into the game, and for such a run-of-the-mills kind of third-person shooter, they really put a lot of detail into it, just with those moments like that. There's a lot of those like that, actually, even from the beginning of the game where you explore Deadpool's apartment. He always has something different to say whenever you do an action, and I like that never kind of repeats itself too much. Whenever you get into those situations, like slapping Wolverine for like 5 minutes straight, and always saying something different.
Yeah, I do like the fact that and this was was the original game announced because it was originally on PS3 and 360. Was it originally announced before the movie was even a done deal?
I have to take a look at it, but I think it came out at least a couple months before the end of the year of 2015. I gotta look at the release date for that, but it was, from what I remember, it was very much timed, and it was already the movie was already in the process of being made. So this is not something that just happened to be ported over to the PS4 and Xbox One for just shits and giggles. It was a little timed, I will say. Let me take a look here real quick, but all in all, folks, if you can get it on a bargain bin price, it's very hard to find, because I see the game still goes for like $50 even on the PS4. But if you got a 360 and you can get it used for cheap like that, you're probably better off doing that. But if you're like me that prefers playing games on the PS4 and don't feel like getting out the 360, probably would wait. Probably would be a while before they end up putting it on a sale for that. The game was re-released November 18th of last year for the PS4 and Xbox One, so we have already been aware of the knowledge that the movie's already it was being made. It probably was already done by that time. That Activision decided to re-release it on the PS4 and Xbox One. Nothing really done at all. At least with other games like GTA 5 and Sleeping Dogs, there were improvements made on the game. Graphics wise, and added some textures and just a little bit more improvements because of the hardware they have to work with now on the PS4 that allows them to be able to enhance the game in and of itself, along with the DLC, which is always nice. Yeah. This one didn't do nothing really.
Yeah.
Which is
that's really a darn shame.
Yeah. But as Activision, you got, they're trying to get a little bit of some cash. But it was written by Daniel Way in this game, so it's you got a little touch of the comic book writer that writes Deadpool. So it worked out for me. I liked a lot of what they were doing in this game. A lot of funny moments.
Yeah, if any, that's the way Sinister. To go. They got Cable.
Yeah, it's like. It's just there's not a whole lot of really comedy video games because it's hard to do them. Besides Portal, this is probably up there as one of the more better comedy video games. If there is such a genre, this is very far and few between.
Yeah, it's you're absolutely right. It's so hard to do that, as well as the fact that a lot of comedies, like any comedy video games, kind of exist as point-and-click adventure games, and then everything else is just kind of it's tolerable. Comedy is the hardest thing to write for because so many people have different ideas about comedy. And with Deadpool, that's a character that's very rife with material, and one of my favorite. I actually did see one of the YouTube scenes when it was on the 360 and the PS3. Of Deadpool going in his mind, I think, where it was there's a party for him and everyone's just enjoying a good time, and he just has the conversation with all the different women across the entire party, and it just this is pretty darn good. I like this.
Oh yeah, that was he was in his his hip hop attire.
Oh yeah.
Some women all the women he talked to, I think, besides maybe one or two, that one was disgusting and rejecting him at his own dream and party. That's a little funny.
How sad is that of a human being? It's where even in your own fantasies, the women reject you.
Yeah, it certainly shows how kind of a demented, problematic character Deadpool is. But also very, very, very infectious when it comes to making you laugh. So
he never lets get him down, though.
No, it never does. He that's very true, especially from some of the stories I read. He never lets him get him down. He's always keeping his chin up and trying all the time to get one over on the ladies. That's Deadpool for you.
Yeah, I'm sort of looking forward to how they treat the movie in terms of how they depict him. And Nolan North, who's been in just everything like regarding animation or video games with Deadpool, he has always been there. So I do wonder how they're going to pull that off with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, it's just a wait and see how it gets pulled off. I don't know if it will be able to live up to like the same pace and energy like that game has, because there's so much they throw at you at such a short amount of time for it being kind of a short, probably 6-hour-ish game. There's a lot of stuff jammed in there in terms of like all the dialogue and the comedy in there, that a lot of it ends up working more than most. So it's very surprising that it's able to keep that same momentum in tempo by the conclusion of the game so far.
Or when he tries to motorboat Cable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's if anything, I just hope that encourages Marvel to do more video games that aren't just Lego video games.
Oh, there's a lot of those, so it's never a drought of those. And to give them credit, like they're not always bad games. They're always really well done. They really go above and beyond. They really go above and beyond for whatever property that the Lego, whatever makes the Lego games goes into. They always put in a lot of detail, a lot of content. So much content for it being such a very much E-rated game. There's so much there for your money. I barely even touched a lot of what's to offer in the Lego Batman game I got for cheap. So there's so much there that you get yourself lost in, and just I'm very impressed on what they do. So there's so much of those games that it's just you don't notice it as much because it's so kind of always overflowed with that stuff, but it never deteriorates the quality. Much like it never gets stale. Much like how like all the music games got, because it was such a fad at the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was so unfortunate to see that we never got another DJ Hero sequel, because that was actually a genuinely interesting experiment. But that was just like what it had to go against was just like already the end of music games by the time that kind of came out. So I wish that they would have came out with another one. I actually enjoyed those.
Yeah. I mean, it's what happened. I have a feeling that maybe Lego stuff is, if it wasn't so high in quality every single time, I think it would be a little bit more pronounced of like people getting worried and kind of bored of the Lego games, just because like there's Lego properties everywhere. There's like, of course, there's like DC. There's Indiana Jones. There's a new Star Wars Lego game coming out. I don't know. Maybe it's just like one of those game series where it's critic proof, because a lot of kids like to play them regardless of whatever the franchise is.
That's true, and they're genuinely not too bad quality made. They don't feel necessarily rushed, and they're just there for the fun, and mainly just it's good to play with other people. It's very 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 hard to find games to actually enjoy 100% with other people. Usually, I'm more of a single player guy. It's a little bit tough for me to enjoy the game as much without having someone to play with, because it's a little bit more fun that way. Can kind of mix things up. I gotta get if only the PS4 controllers weren't that expensive, I would definitely get another controller or the PS4.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I kind of really wish that there would be more cheaper substitutes for video game controllers these days, especially since a lot of times they're wireless controllers, and so that means a lot more money.
Yeah, it's just not as simple anymore to get wired controllers as they use. They're not as much often offered as much as they are wireless ones now. I remember there was always this abundance of wired controllers, but it was just always the wireless ones that ended up costing you a little bit of money. It's almost like the same price of a full game. So it's hard to even want to indulge into that. Unless there's some kind of really good sale to get it at least relatively a little bit lower. We'll have to see, but that's my thoughts on the Deadpool game. If you can get it on the cheap, borrow it from a friend, rent it in some shape or form, you'll enjoy it. It really is a lot of fun. It's made me laugh on a numerous amount of occasions. The gameplay is not that bad, but it's not anything to write home about. Right. Well, just a substitute to get you to is pretty much the conduit of just everything that is very much emphasizes Deadpool as a character and everything that all the situations he gets to. So there's that, and played a little bit of Witcher 3 as well. Still going through. There's so much side quest and a lot of monster quests I haven't done. It's just insane. On top of
unfair. It really is.
I don't mind it. I love it that I never had a game like this where I can go back to it after beating it for the first time and still have things to do. It's insane. I love going back and being able to play the side quest and going and accessing these locations that I haven't even seen before and going through all these question marks on the map. So much question marks on the map.
It looks like the questionnaire guy in the commercials, the low-rank commercials, like, there's money those fat cats don't want you to know about. It's like, just like if he exploded that on a map, that's what this would look like.
It's insane. I never had so much content in a game like this. I absolutely love it. I'm not against it. It's great for me to be able to go back and not have to worry about maybe being able to rely on maybe a full story going on in order to be able to get fully immersed. That's been done with already, and I enjoyed the main campaign, and I love to go back and start up a new game plus when I feel free to do so. But I've been just enjoying the hell out of just doing these side quests that I've neglected from like the beginning of the game, like getting with the troll as paint and doing
I love that one. I love the trolls.
Yeah, and doing just monster quests as well, and just being able to kind of go through that and being genuinely surprised as to how much detail they even put on these monster quests that are not even they're side quests, but they're not mainly officially labeled as side quests. There's more like in a different subcategory. It's just amazing how much detail they put into it, even for like a good maybe like 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe you'll end up investing into it, and especially the one with the werewolf I found, where he was kind of a bastard for killing like priestesses and got cursed. That one had so much detail than I expected, and it was very much excited to kind of see its conclusion, and also be able to move on from that and kind of try something else, and even having the same amount as quality and backstory as it did. Even stumbling upon like treasure locations or like monster nests, there's always like a crate you find with a note that has like this other subcategory of quests to go on to find treasure hunts, and then those have their own kind of backstories as well. It's just so much dedication. I can't imagine.
Even with the Witcher contracts that are just like not very the bigger ones. It's like, oh, you got to kill this I can't remember. It was like Jenny of the Woods type of like ghost, where it's like you need to get rid of them. Like sometimes it'll be like, oh yeah, like it's out there, and then you'll get all this evidence. And you see like, yeah, this was like a woman that died 13 years ago. It's like, oh my god, that was like Rachel. We told her not to get married to that idiot who got her involved with crime. It's like there doesn't need to be that much detail, but they put it in there regardless.
Yeah. I mean, other games will just kind of have you do this, do that, and then just be done with it. There's nothing, no driving force, no.
Or it's like, oh, you're here for the werewolf contract. Here you go.
Just the standard stuff is not. it's not anything like that where you don't know a whole lot about what the mission structure is. You just kind of do it for the sake of getting some XP. But at least with this, there's actually some motivation and some really detailed and interesting storylines that happen as you do these quests that may not seem too big on the surface, but they're quite well detailed for what they are and what your expectations are for them. In other games wouldn't have put as much detail into them as say this one. I just
not even close.
Very much impressed by it. I just even doing a whole nother monster quest I was up to the other day about a missing husband that you end up finding out got turned into a werewolf, and he ended up eating his wife because the wife's sister wanted to be with him and somehow tricked them into eating his wife, and it's just this whole subplot that was just utterly like devastating and like
that's like soap opera shit.
Yeah, and then like I was given the choice to like once the husband found out about this, I was given the choice to just kind of leave the cave and have him just kind of kill her, or choosing the choice to kill the werewolf, and then she ended up running away. And after that, I ended up finding her in the little cabin that they were staying at. It was just kind of her sitting there with her hands on her face, not saying anything, and I wasn't able to talk to her after that. It wasn't very clear and cut, like exactly what would be the good choice, because they both done wrong. They've been kind of like, it's very much both great choices. It's not anything like black and white. There's just like, that's why it was so hard to choose. To say, well, I don't know what to do.
It's like, oh my god, I was kind of struggling with that. I was like, shit, this woman obviously did incredible wrong. But does she deserve to get ripped apart for it? For me, it was like, yeah, she kind of does.
She kind of does. But I let her.
You're gonna be a manwich. Bye.
I let her run away and ended up killing the husband and turned into a werewolf too. But he was like, both of them had their own kind of. Both of them had their own faults, but it's ultimately like it really could go either or. Like I really wish there was an option just to kind of be neutral on the matter, because I didn't really want to kill both, but honestly, something had to be done.
Yeah, I mean, it just like, listen, it might be better just to salt the earth and move on. There's nothing to save here.
Yeah, just those kind of choices, like just blow me away. I love that. I love being faced with such challenging choices like that evidently, both parties have some fault into it, but ultimately it's always going to be up to you on exactly how you decide to go about this, and neither are necessarily, for me anyways, with that situation, were necessarily the right things to do. It was just kind of like, it was pretty fucked up what happened.
Oh yeah.
I wish there was something else I could do here, but something had to be done. Somebody had to die, and I felt like that he had to be the one, because he was the monster of the situation.
But who is the monster?
That's really the question. That's the question. There's layers, man. There's layers. Complex moral choices you make in this game.
Witcher. I gotta say, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is easily my favorite, one of my favorite RPGs of all time. I liked Witcher 2, but it wasn't my favorite. But this one, just like, wow, this is light years ahead of what the original one or the previous one was.
Yeah, and the second one was really fantastic. But just comparing it to all the improvements they made with the third game, and a whole lot of more. Including a whole lot more complex and morally challenging issues that you end up facing, and decisions you have to make it that much more of a well-oiled game, that much of an experience. Just how much detail they put into it, and just a lot of what they learned from the second game moving on to this one.
Oh yeah,
it's really hard to
a lot more budget too.
A lot more budget, and it's really hard to go back to that second one, even though I enjoyed some of the plot points in there, it's very hard to go back because the third one is such a beast of a game.
Such an improvement, yeah.
Such an improvement. It's like the Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, you are spot on with that comparison because, the mark of a great video game sequel is to be such an improvement over the original formula that it's near impossible to go back to and just enjoy it as much as you do with the sequel.
Yeah, it just blows my mind. I cannot comprehend how this was achieved. It's such a blessing to us all.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, and just so well done too. I love the fact that just some of the little choices, like the fact that they have, and this is a continuation from, of course, the first Witcher games. Is I don't know if this was also kind of a canon in terms of the books, but I really like the fact that Geralt and the Witchers all have American accents, and for a fantasy setting, especially for high fantasy, it's very off-putting. It's very weird, since everybody else speaks with like English or Scottish or Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings accents, but you have Witcher and the good old boys like, oh, come on over here, we're gonna cook ourselves up some delicious dwermers.
Yeah, that was a very interesting approach too, as you mentioned, especially with everyone having their own little everyone coming from their own different backgrounds and being different
affectations.
Some people being like wizards or dwarves, and all comes from all different circles of life. That one was a little bit. That one threw me off a little bit for a loop. Like, it just, even for the sake of them, not necessarily all being from the same location, because they're all all from different places. They're either like orphans or end up being like dedicated to the craft itself if they don't got nothing else going on.
Oh yeah.
So it's a culmination of a variety of different groups. It was a little interesting to see that they all kind of kept it in much of an American accent style. That was a little weird, but that's a little nitpicky. But I didn't think about it till now. But that's very true.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting type of universe, and once again, I mean, just like every week we talk about just how great The Witcher 3 is, and just how many little things we keep noticing. And I mean, animations take so damn long to do, and they focus a hell of a lot on like eyebrows and just like facial twitches. It's just like, God, there must have been like a team of people just responsible for that.
Yeah, that's true, and I tried to analyze the characters I talked to as well, in terms of like their motivations and intentions based on their facial expressions, and a good amount of the time they ended up having a good amount of a tell to know that there's something sketchy gonna go on. I've had those situations. It happens a lot too in a lot of open world games where someone will come up to you. It's like, hey, follow me. I got something to show you, and then they end up trying to attack you.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I see this from a mile away, but I'm gonna go follow you anyway. I played Red Dead
Redemption. I know the type of treachery you got afoot.
Yeah, that even happened in The Witcher 2, in The Witcher as well. It's like, I know where this is going. I knew it from the depths of my bones, and then once they lured me into this abandoned warehouse, I knew all hell's about to break loose.
This is like, oh, help, my oxen's sick, and then you like wander in this like really abandoned part of town. It's like, I got a feeling that maybe your oxen isn't here.
Yeah, I love those moments. It was just so good, and I have to go back and play it again and to take a little bit more of a notice on the animations on their face, to see if there's a little bit of a tell and if there's almost being a little bit deceiving. I've noticed it a few times on some of the recent side quests I did, but I didn't pay attention too much previously. But now I notice it a lot more because it's really well detailed in terms of the facial animations, a lot more than your standard other games like Fallout. They got no facial animations to have any kind of tell. If they were trying to go like for LA Noire kind of game in the Fallout 3 graphics, I wouldn't even get past the first level.
Yeah, that it takes a certain combination to really make it enticing for the player.
Yeah, man. But I would like to play more of it. There's so much for me left to do, and I cannot wait for the Blood and Wine DLC.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I just got to a high enough level to start the first DLC.
Oh shit.
Yep, I'm ready to jump on in.
I can't wait to hear your impressions on it. It starts off certainly with an interesting premise, and then, like I mentioned, you get really thrown into a boss battle really early, much into the vein of Dark Souls with the Frog Prince. So very much go with the tactics of what worked in Dark Souls, was just get one or two hits and roll out of the fucking way.
I am quite well versed in that, and I will take your advice with the highest trust.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's just the thing that got me the most, that really frustrated me, was that whenever the enemy would go into an animation where he was about to kind of do like a jump up in the air and do like a big splash to knock you backwards, that would happen, and it would take a little bit off your health, and then after that happens, when Geralt gets back up, he just kind of stays into this animation for like a couple seconds, like he's just pacing, like he's just realizing what the hell just happened. You got knocked the fuck out.
He's got to get his footing back.
Yeah, that happens constantly when the enemy gets the better of you, when you're too close to when he does that big splash. It's a part of the game. But it bothered the hell out of me because I had to wait like 2 seconds for that animation to end, and it's like I could have full control again. It was the worst. but fortunately, the enemies didn't take advantage of that animation. Because that was a part of the game, but it just drove me nuts. So I try to avoid that as much as possible to get hit.
Keep that in mind.
I can't wait to hear what you think about it, because I really love that DLC. It was such a great experience to see a newer kind of like seeing newer parts of like the upper part of the map.
Oh yeah,
we never really got to go by, and all that stuff was there that you got to check out for a little bit. There's some really good scenery and interesting characters that you meet. I really love that. I really love that quest that you go on into that abandoned house, that you see all the stories that get mentioned with Olgrid von Everec, that you end up meeting as one of the other characters in the game. You'll end up finding more about him and just the tragedy that had transpired with him and his wife, and it was just really well done. I really enjoyed that part. It was my favorite part of the game. Honestly, like it was probably one of my favorite parts of the game in general, and also just the DLC. It was just so different from what you've been doing, and even the game as a whole always tries to keep it varied, always shaking things up and not ever doing the same thing twice. But this one did something so much different than what you were doing in the main game that it just threw me for a loop, and I enjoyed every minute of it. It was such a great value for such a
only $10,
expansive DLC. Yeah, it's about $10. Yeah, very cheap.
I absolutely love The Witcher. I think even just playing the small amount of DLC that they had to enjoy, these guys, they don't give up until they make sure they've got your full attention as well as just full support. Because they're not going to just haphazardly toss in just like, oh yeah, here's a sword worth that's $5. Here's this here's a character costume that's worth $2. It's like no, you're gonna get an entire new a section of like on a map to explore. We're gonna have like side quests, new characters, new everything. Like you are not gonna leave until we make sure we have your money earned.
Absolutely, and to have a callback to what Bethesda did with one of the Elder Scrolls games, and they had, I think they had horse armor in The Witcher, but it was a free DLC horse armor.
Oh boy, how much crap would they have gotten if it was just like horse armor worth $20? What?
Which evidently it just is more of a stylistic thing, because even like the accessories you put on Roach all usually have to do with him being easily scared from like enemies being near him, and him throwing you off. So I like that too. I like that. I mean, it makes sense.
A little bit more of challenge
for the horse to do that, and I don't even try to attack people from the horse, because I always end up missing a mile away.
Oh yeah, just like I'm gonna swipe at you. Oh, I missed you about 2 miles back that way.
I was finally able to find and acquire an item that increases your inventory weight. I had no idea this even existed in the game until like just last week.
Neither did I. Well, what is it?
It was like some kind of like a handbag or something like that. It's like an item you can equip on Geralt. It's I don't remember the exact name of it, but it was pretty much just a bag, like a kind of like an item bag that just pretty much increases the amount of inventory weight you can put on your person by 100. I think the standard is 60, but it's like it increased it by a lot, and I barely even have to like go into my inventory a lot to just sell things or just drop them whenever I get overcumbersome. So it was very, very, very much a good get that last weekend. Even if I beat the game, I don't know if that transfers over.
Well,
in New Game Plus,
I will be trying to find that as soon as possible, because I've always like oh, I got this awesome sword and I can't wait to sell my old one for a lot of money. It's like, you only have enough enough space for one of them, or else you're going to be walking like Michael Moore.
That's true. That's very true. Walking in slow motion.
Yeah, waddle your way to freedom.
But yeah, that was been my little adventures and stories I had to do tell about my Witcher 3 experience and my Deadpool playing experience. Have you had a chance to play any games over the weekend, my good sir?
The only ones that I've been playing were Halo 5 Guardians as my multiplayer game. I love that multiplayer mode. The other one is actually Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2: The Sith Lords, with the new mod that they have, which is supposed to restore a whole lot of content. And I just forgot. I love the first KOTOR, but I haven't played KOTOR 2 in such a long time. And that was back when it was released on the Xbox, and it was really kind of quick in terms of it being put out there. Just because, I think LucasArts wanted to release it for the Christmas season, and Obsidian wasn't ready, but they said, hey, screw it, we're doing it now. The restored content mod apparently makes the game so much better, and I'm just very interested to see how it turns out. And I'm just replaying it, and I'm just really, really enjoying how much fun I'm having with it.
That's the beauty of mods, especially if you have the PC that can run them on some older games that you really enjoyed, that were very much classics for the time that they were out, and being able to get a little bit more playtime on them, even regarding that they're such still good games, and being able to have that much of an incentive to go back and play them with these newer mods that people go out of their way for. I remember playing Max Payne 2 on the PC. There's a couple of mods that I had set up in there that allows you to play the game like it changes the model, and there's also like a separate mode that you can just kind of pretty much almost the equivalent to like a shooting range, but it was really well done how they did it. It's pretty much like they pretty much skinned the whole game in the vein of like Equilibrium with Christian Bale. So you're pretty much playing as like Christian Bale from Equilibrium and just doing all this gun kata. It was really cool.
That is awesome. Did they have the scene of who is Christian Bale's buddy who's like his coworker that that the coworker's always trying to one up him in like combat.
Oh, I think it was Tay Diggs, something like that. I don't.
To spoil the movie, I love the fact that like he had like the big fight scene is just like he just steps up was like, okay, like Christian Bale, you are a threat to the order. I will take you down. And then like one move, Christian Bale just like slices off his face. It's like, oh shit, like he didn't even stand a chance.
That was my favorite confrontation. It just ended so quick.
That it was like, yeah, you didn't even stand a chance against him.
Yeah, I think that was. Yeah, Tay Diggs. That was right. That was him.
Wow. Been a while. What else has he been in?
Oh, maybe some Tyler Perry movies. Let me take a look.
Never mind then. Let's not go back to Tyler Perry.
Yeah, that'll be for another day. That'll take the time to research this.
Maybe we'll research the Tyler Perry movie.
Riveting filmography of Tay Diggs.
Oh, good lord!
Well, that's good to hear, man. I love the mod community. There's always some creative, innovative things going on. That's just insane. Just like the Max Payne 2 mod that I mentioned, that just it's just so much fun to be able to play those mods especially on a game that you can actually run on your computer. That's always fun. Whenever you try to do anything else.
Yeah, and I got an older Mac, so I don't always have the most dedicated mods for my platform.
Yeah, especially whenever you try to run a mod on slightly newer games, even like older Fallouts, it just slow my computer to a halt. Try to do like so much, do like a nice little filter on it, even if it's not so much. It just boggles it down like completely. So it just depends on the kind of performance that you're looking to get out of some of these mods. So I will give kudos to the mod community. I love watching videos of the mods. So there's always fun things going on there.
There's the Jedi Academy stuff where they have like the realistic lightsaber fights where it's like if you get like a lightsaber across the arm, your arm's coming off.
Yeah, that's the kind of detail that I love to see in those mods, and sometimes they end up improving the actual core game, and so it's always cool to see that happen. But yeah, man, that's quite a podcast we had today. I'm not sure if you have anything else that you wanted to bring up before.
Oh no, I'm very, very good.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and wrap this up, folks. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. If you had the chance to, I saw Steven Rome here real quick, but I think he was just creeping, and then he ended up disappearing onto the sunset. Maybe getting some more burgers.
Hey, I can't blame him. Some darn burgers are good at any time of the day.
But yeah, I appreciate everyone listening to us on the download, on the archives, when you get the chance to. Whenever we understand that not everyone can make it here on the live episode, so that's why we have that option available for those who can, and also be able to post it afterwards. So I really appreciate just the support on that, and the utmost patience of us being able to get together and trying to update the site as often as we can with some newer content. But as CH mentioned, he has done so with the addition of the new articles written about Soma. So if you're interested in reading some of that and not too worried about spoilers, as I may be a little bit, feel free.
I don't want you to read it, man, just because I know you're still working through it. And
yeah, it's a work in progress. It's a very, very slow work in progress.
It's emotionally a hard game to get through. I completely agree.
Yeah, it really is. I really wish I could give me more strength to be able to finish it. It's just the overbearingness of feeling completely isolated, especially.
It is a depressing game.
It is a very depressing game. You're not really supposed to have fun. I don't know.
You're supposed, yeah.
You can't describe fun. You can't put fun in the same sentence.
It's engaging.
Yeah, it's a very engaging game, and it also deals with a lot of very, very deep subject matters that can kind of bog you down a little bit. So it's very good in that aspect. So I like that. It's so that describing it in the terms of having fun, it's not the way to do it, but it's a really well made game so far. What I played. So absolutely check out CH's article when you get the chance. And once we get everything going, I'll be more than happy to be able to, for future instances, be able to cut out the discussions we have on the direct-to-DVD movies as well. Get that going on the site for a little side tangent here. If you decide you want to listen to that, besides the whole podcast, I don't know why you want to do that, but hey, that's an option.
Yes.
You can always check us out on thebgb.com. Check out our good buddies over there on thebgb.com with their show as well. I believe they do their podcast, or they're starting to do their podcasts live every Friday. So feel free to check them out there, and we'll be more than happy to provide the links below. And check us out on the YouTube. You can check out the podcast as well on youtube.com/Splinter47. And get a free audiobook from audibletrial.com/bloodythumbs. The offer's still strong, still there. If you want to get a free audiobook and help out the podcast as well, you can more than happy to do that. I mean, what's nothing wrong with free, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity while it still lasts.
Trust me, that it only gets better as every month you'll get a new credit to your iTunes account, and there are like $60 or $40 huge audiobooks for the price of free every month. So, I mean, really, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So come on over. The water is fine.
Help us help each other.
Help us help you.
Help us help you.
Help you.
And that'll be about it. Check us out on iTunes as well. Leave us a review if you're able to. If you're not if iTunes is not your fancy and you got an Android device, you can more than absolutely follow the podcast through any Android device you have through a podcast app. It search us through the iTunes store, and that's how you'll be able to subscribe to us. So keep it simple that way. I don't know if I should consider putting out the podcast on Stitcher. I know Stitcher's a very popular podcasting app as well. I'll have to look into it a bit more further and get some more info on it from Big Red, because I know he posts the BGB podcast on Stitcher as well. But that'll be a little background discussion I'll have, and we'll see where we go from there. If you guys have a preferred method of accessing podcasts if you're an Android user, definitely let me know, and we'll definitely get it on there. But beyond that point, it's been a fantastic episode. We talked about some Barely Lethal for a good amount of time.
Oh, yeah.
Very very surprising revelations from CH, like in the second half of the movie.
I'm a sucker for an engaging high school romance or very weird genre film. So
it was a interesting revelation there. I don't mind romance movies. It's just a lot of the ones that are try to be too romantic movies that don't actually get it right, that are just forcing it. Those are the ones that kind of they get your goat. They always those are the ones that kind of don't sit well with me too much. Those are the bad romance comedies. They don't do it for me, but they kind of ruin the actual real good ones that are out there. Sleepless in Seattle, I can get down on some of that.
Oh yeah, was it some Groundhog's Day? Was it You've Got Mail? Everyone's favorite.
Yeah, Knocked Up, things like that. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody. This has been episode 178 of Bloody Thumbs podcast. I am Splinter47 signing off. Take it easy, everybody.
I am CH Gorog. You can find me at CH_Gorog. You can look up our YouTube pages and so on and so forth. And we always appreciate your support and dedication. And goodbye, everybody.